Small decisions about which crypto headlines you trust compound in ways most people never track, until their portfolio is down 60% and they have no idea why. Here is the truth nobody in this industry wants you to know. Every headline you read about crypto is crafted to make someone else rich. Every single one. On January 12, 2021, a single tweet from a verified account with 2.3 million followers sent a low-cap altcoin up 400% in 47 minutes. By minute 48, insiders had already sold. Retail investors, people exactly like you, were left holding bags that never recovered. That was not an accident. That was a system working exactly as designed. And the terrifying part, you are still inside that system right now. Every time you open a crypto news app, every time you click a trending headline, every time you feel that rush of urgency telling you to buy before it is too late, someone engineered that feeling. In the next 10 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly who is pulling these strings, how the manipulation machine works step by step, and the 3 principles that will permanently separate you from the 99% who keep getting played. Stay until the end because the 3rd principle is the one the industry is most desperate to keep hidden. Most crypto investors think they are doing the right thing. They follow reputable outlets, they check Twitter, they watch YouTube videos, they join Telegram groups with 50,000 members, and they still lose money. Here is why every one of those approaches is broken at the foundation. The information ecosystem around crypto is not neutral. It is a battlefield, and you are not a soldier. You are the target. In 2022, the CFTC filed charges against 13 influencers for coordinated pump-and-dump schemes across Telegram channels, totaling over 1.5 million subscribers. These were not anonymous accounts. Some had blue check marks. Some had appeared on mainstream financial podcasts. The problem is not that you are not smart enough to spot manipulation. The problem is that you are using a broken filter to evaluate information. Most people filter crypto news with one question: is this true? But that is the wrong question entirely. The right question is, who benefits if I believe this? The moment you shift that frame, everything changes. But almost nobody makes that shift because the content is designed specifically to prevent you from asking it. Pattern. Interrupt. Stop for 1 second and think about the last 3 crypto headlines that made you feel urgent. Write them down mentally. We are coming back to that. I call this framework the signal stripping protocol. 3 principles, each one building on the last, that train your brain to extract the 1% of real signal buried inside the 99% of noise. This is not about becoming a conspiracy theorist. It is not about never reading news again. It is about building an internal filter so strong that manipulation slides off you before it reaches your decisions. Here is what makes this framework different from anything else you have heard. It does not require you to be smarter than the market. It does not require you to predict prices. It requires only one thing: that you understand the incentive structure of every single piece of information you consume before you act on it. The 3 principles are source archaeology, emotional velocity mapping, and asymmetric timing. Master all 3, and you will stop being the exit liquidity for people who understood the game before you even sat down at the table. Let me take you through each one. Principle 1 is source archaeology. Before you read a single word of any crypto article, you need to excavate who published it and what they own. In March 2023, a major blockchain publication ran a 2,000-word bullish deep dive on a DeFi token. The article looked like independent journalism. It had charts, it had quotes from analysts, it had a balanced-sounding headline. What was buried in the footer in 6-point font? A disclosure that the publication had received 400,000 tokens as a content sponsorship fee. By the time retail investors bought in based on that article, the token had already peaked. The publication was not lying. They just knew something you did not. Source archaeology means you run every outlet through 3 questions before you consume their content. Question 1. Do they hold positions in assets they cover? Question 2. Who funds their advertising? If their top advertisers are the exact exchanges pushing the coins they hype, that is not a coincidence. Question 3. What happened to the last 5 assets they called bullish? Not their opinion. The actual price 6 months later. Most outlets cannot survive that third question. Once you start doing this, you will realize you have been trusting sources that have a direct financial incentive for you to make the wrong decision. Principle 2 is emotional velocity mapping. This is the one that will save you from yourself, because the enemy here is not the news. It is your own nervous system. Here is a fact that should permanently change how you browse crypto content. Professional market manipulators do not need you to believe their narrative. They just need you to feel urgency for approximately 4 to 6 hours. That window is enough time for them to execute a full distribution cycle while you are still deciding whether to buy. Emotional velocity. Mapping means you track the speed and intensity of the emotional response a piece of content produces in you, not the content itself. Your internal state after consuming it. High velocity, your heart rate rises, you want to act immediately, you feel like you will miss something irreversible if you wait. That emotional signature is the manipulation working. It was engineered. Low velocity. You feel mildly curious. You want to research more. The urgency is intellectual, not physiological. That is closer to signal. The rule is simple. The faster a piece of crypto content makes you want to move money, the longer you must wait before doing anything. Set a 48-hour rule. If the thesis is still valid in 48 hours, it was not manufactured urgency. In the history of real technological adoption, no legitimate opportunity has ever required you to act within a single news cycle. Principle 3 is asymmetric timing. This is the one the industry is most desperate to bury, because if you understand it, you stop being profitable for them to manipulate. Here is the core insight. The people creating crypto narratives operate on a completely different time horizon than the people consuming them. When you read a headline on November 7, 2023 saying a specific asset is about to explode, the entity that wrote the headline started positioning for that narrative 3 to 6 weeks earlier. They are not informing you about what is happening. They are informing you about what has already happened to them, at a price you can never access. Asymmetric timing means you stop trying to react to news and start studying the gap between when narratives are constructed and when they are published. On-chain data is your greatest weapon here. Blockchain is a public ledger. Before major bullish narratives broke in the media for Solana in late 2023, on-chain wallet accumulation by large holders had been quietly increasing for 6 consecutive weeks. That data was publicly available. Nobody reading mainstream crypto news was looking at it. The news cycle is the exit, not the entry. When a narrative goes mainstream, the smart money is already leaving through the door you are rushing to enter. Stop reacting to the surface. Start reading the chain underneath. Now here is where the signal stripping protocol becomes a force multiplier. Source archaeology tells you who is speaking. Emotional velocity mapping tells you how they are trying to move you. Asymmetric timing tells you when they started positioning relative to when they told you. When you apply all three simultaneously, you create something the manipulation machine cannot defeat. A version of you that processes information instead of reacting to it. Think back to those 3 headlines I asked you to remember at the start of this video. Run them through the protocol right now in your head. Who published it and what do they own? How fast did it make you want to act? And if you trace the on-chain activity around that asset, when did the real accumulation begin? I will almost guarantee that at least 2 of those 3 headlines were reverse engineered from a position that was already built. And the article was the sell signal for someone else dressed up as a buy signal for you. The protocol is not about paranoia. It is about precision. You are not abandoning the crypto space. You are finally learning to navigate it as a participant with real information power instead of as the exit liquidity. Now, before you go apply this, let me tell you the 3 mistakes I see people make when they first encounter this framework, because these mistakes will neutralize everything you just learned. Mistake 1. Applying source archaeology only to outlets you already distrust. The most dangerous manipulation does not come from sources that feel shady. It comes from sources you have trusted for years. The credibility is the weapon. Mistake 2. Using emotional velocity, mapping as an excuse for permanent inaction. The goal is not to never feel urgency. The goal is to distinguish manufactured urgency from legitimate opportunity tension. There is a difference. Real market cycles do create genuine windows. The protocol helps you identify which is which, not paralyze you indefinitely. Mistake 3. treating on-chain data as a magic signal. Asymmetric timing requires context. Large wallet movements can mean accumulation or distribution. You need to develop pattern recognition over time, not treat any single metric as a prediction engine. Now here is the practical part. When you stop reacting to noise and commit to holding assets you have genuinely researched through cold storage, the infrastructure of how you store those assets matters enormously. At around this point in most people's journey, they upgrade from exchange storage to a hardware wallet, because if the conviction is real, the security should match it. A hardware wallet like Ledger takes your assets completely offline, away from exchange hacks, away from phishing attacks, away from every single vector that the same bad actors who manipulate news also exploit. Link is in the description. It is the most important physical upgrade a long-term holder can make. Let me close this loop I opened at the very start. I told you that every headline is crafted to make someone else rich. Here is the full picture. The manipulation machine is real. It is sophisticated, and it has been running far longer than most retail investors have been in this space. But it only works on you if you remain reactive. The signal stripping protocol, source archaeology, emotional velocity, mapping, asymmetric timing, is not a guarantee of profit. It is a guarantee of clarity, and in a space designed to keep you confused and impulsive, clarity is the rarest and most valuable asset you can hold. The 99% will keep clicking the next alarming headline. They will keep feeling urgency that was manufactured for them. They will keep buying tops and selling bottoms because the emotional architecture of crypto media is perfectly engineered to produce exactly that outcome. The 1% are not smarter. They are just reading a different layer of reality. Now you have the map. What you do with it is entirely up to you. If this framework changed how you think about crypto information, share this video with one person who needs to see it. Subscribe if you want the next layer of the map delivered the moment it drops, and drop in the comments. Which of the 3 principles hit you the hardest? I read every single one. Disclaimer: this video is for educational and entertainment purposes.